So Sergey, welcome. We are finally here after a long time coming.
Hello and thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. Tell us about your preparations. This fight has been on again, off again. The interim title is on the line. You're looking forward to an opportunity to win and get another shot at a world title. On again, off again. Your original opponent has fallen out. How are you feeling about all of the preparations you've done so far and your anticipation for Saturday night?
Ну, чувствую себя отлично. Они меняли мне то левого левша, то правша, то будет, то не будет, то за титул, то нет. Но мы ко всему готовились, все планы A, B, C предпринимали, совсем спринговали, так что все отлично.
Well, I feel great. The main part of this whole thing was that we stayed in the gym. We never changed our routine. Joe kept us working every day of the week, and there were different opponents thrown in the air for us, and we were more or less getting ready for each one of them, and we had different strategies, different sparring partners, so everything went as planned.
So you were preparing for the eventuality of Custio Clayton. He's not a surprise to you. He wasn't surprised, he told us earlier, by the opportunity. He sort of had hoped it was coming. He was on standby. Did you also have information and prepare for him specifically in addition to Abdu Kakarov, your original opponent?
Что говорит?
Говоришь, Клейтон, когда ты узнал о Клейтоне и как ты успел ты подготовиться именно к нему, потому что он не был...
Мы знали заранее, за месяц примерно, что будет Клейтон, и что, возможно, его поставить за место. Если Абдукакоров не успеет сделать визу, поэтому то, что он будет точно, ждали за неделю, поэтому мы знали плюс-минус.
Well, Clayton's name was thrown up in the air for us probably about a month ago.
Yeah.
We never actually looked into him. It was just a possibility. Only Joe did his due diligence and he looked at the guy, but we weren't actually like concentrating on what he was bringing in the ring. And then about a week prior to the fight, we finally got it solidified, and it was actually, there was an affirmation that we are fighting, in fact, Clayton. So what the thing is that, like I said, the different sparring partners that we had, Joe making me do different things in the ring. It's more or less whole alphabet thing that we're getting ready for. So we got a couple of nice different plans for the fight.
Okay. Thank you both. Let's ask you, Joe. Joe, you've been with Sergey now for about a year and a half. Tell us what improvements you think you've made. What you felt you had with Sergey when he first came to you, and what stage you're at now.
Well, we've come a long way. Sergey's a quick learner. I would say if you start with the Lamont Peterson fight, that was kind of we had several months, maybe 6 months together before that fight, 5 or 6 months. So I was at least able to implement what I thought was a style that was befitting his physicality and his instincts. And that served us well in the Lamont Peterson fight. Then we were going to fight Molina, and we had a different strategy for Molina than we did Peterson. So we had to implement different training techniques in the gym and strategies. And that would have meant that we were employing more athleticism, more boxing skills, because we were going to fight a pressure fighter like Molina. And it would probably have been smarter to box him as opposed to putting pressure on Peterson. So two different styles that you have to teach. And again, he took to it like a cat to milk. So it was pretty good. But then at the last second, Molina got changed. And we ended up with a 5'11" southpaw, basically 24 hours before the fight. So again, there's not much you can do. You can just give a little bit of a verbal crash course about what we want to do with the southpaw. It turned out pretty good. We knocked them out in 2. And so for this fight here, Kokorov is a completely different style. He's a right-hander. He's a left-hander. He moves. He's athletic. So, then you have to prepare for that type of guy. So you have to, bring in a little left-handed sparring. You have to do a lot of right-handed sparring. And then it changed to maybe we're going to fight just a pure southpaw, which was, I forget the kid's name. Van Herring. Yeah, Van Herring. And so that whole idea lasted just a few days. So then that was taken off the table. Then it was back to Kokorov. It was pretty wild. But in essence, though, it gave us an opportunity to work on a lot of different things in the gym. So as opposed to being focused on one style for Kokorov, you have to push the envelope a little bit athletically to be able to deal with southpaw sparring and then go back to right-handed sparring. Then it's a pressure game plan. Then it's not a pressure game plan. So, because we had to go with the flow there, we actually covered a lot of bases. And ultimately, with Clayton, that fit into our pressure game that we were going to employ against Abdul Kokorov. So, thank God it all worked out okay. I know it was a little convoluted, a little long, but that's it as best as I can explain it to you.
No, I appreciate that, the detail, Joe. I think that's part of it. Is has been a long time coming, and I think that's why we are certainly looking forward to it at Showtime, and I expect that the fans are too. Sergey, can you comment on your ability to adapt to these styles? Is that something that can set you apart? I mean, there are some fighters who they can't change their style as readily. Speak to that, your ability or your willingness to change a game plan or to change your style in the ring for each opponent.
Можешь рассказать, как ты смог пристроиться, чтобы менять стиль под этого боксера, свой стиль менять? Тебе не тяжело было, потому что многим боксерам не так просто поменять стиль.
Ну, я думаю, что мы не меняли стиль, а Джо дополняет именно мой стиль. Это и есть мой стиль боя, где я работаю, я умею работать и двигаясь на ногах, и в атакующей манере. Поэтому Джо просто добавил некоторые плюсы к моей работе, и из-за этого я стал лучше драться, боксировать. Поэтому это намного стало красивее, и удар усилился у меня благодаря Джо.
Well, it's not as much as me changing that. My fighting style is it's Joe, putting missing pieces together and adding up to what I already had, despite what other people think about my fighting style. I actually could box, and I could use my legs around the ring, and I could set the traps around the ring, and I'm pretty good on my feet. But Joe added elements to it where it became fluent and non-stop, and that's why I believe that is going to be looking way more number one, watchable, and it attracts the eye the way I'm going to be fighting under Joe's tutelage.
That's terrific. Okay, great. Let's take a question here. Jeremy Herridges from fansided.com. Jeremy, go ahead.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Sergey. This question is actually probably more for Joe. Joe, as far as the growth that you've seen in Sergey from, his single loss to Mikey Garcia to now, what are some of the things that you've seen in him, maybe 2 or 3 things that he's most improved upon and how he's changed as a fighter?
I would say his defense, number one, has been, really improved upon. Not that he didn't have a good defense. He had a fairly good defense. I just thought he did certain things that may have left him a little vulnerable, like with Mikey in that fight. That kind of, exposed a few things. But, bottom line is that I pretty much try to cover, everything from head movement to foot movement to, you know, the right placement of where your arms and hands are. You know, I'm pretty old school, you know, when it comes to defensive tactics. Before we even start our workouts, we do probably 15 rounds on just slipping, parrying, and weaving, bobbing and weaving. Literally 15 rounds before we even finish the last, you know, 25, 30 rounds of bag work, mitts, cushion, forget about sparring. So, but I would say his overall output, offensively, we've worked on throwing a lot more punches, tightening up his delivery system. So it's a lot shorter, especially when you're in close. Keeping the hands up a lot better when the time calls for it. I would just say, you know, it's not brain surgery. It's just all the right stuff that you see all the good guys do, and you try to do a conglomerate of all of it, you know, defensive, offensively. And then, you know, you hope most of it sticks. And then you try to, whatever you do on the floor, you try to bring in a sparring and see how he's executing it. And I got to tell you, we had probably close to 200 rounds of sparring, which is an inordinate amount of sparring, but we had an inordinate amount of time to train. It was really, we were training for a long time. In fact, when he did go back to Russia for about a month, probably 6-7 months ago, he was videotaping all of his workouts and sending them to me. He was making makeshift weave bags and makeshift ring. It was pretty, I was pretty happy about all of that. And so when he came back to California and we started training, we've been in training for, I mean, literally for probably 7-8 months straight. And so we covered a lot of bases, but I would say, I mean, to go back to your original question, you know, we've worked a lot on just your rudimentary fundamental defensive, hands up, elbows in, chin tucked, and you try to maintain that for 12 rounds and not let that start, you know, falling apart as the rounds go by. And then offensively, throwing in combinations of variety of punches, a voluminous amount of punches, and a lot of pressure. And that means moving fast feet forward and to meet your opponent unless he is willing to meet you in the center of the ring. So basically those things, and, you know, everything that comes along with it. A lot of work, though. I have to tell you, you can't do what I want to do with a fighter unless you've got a compliant, you know, partner. And Sergey is old school that way, and I really want to emphasize the old school. He will do whatever you ask him to do in the gym if it makes sense to him. And thankfully, you know, he must think I make a little sense, but because he never questions it. But no, he's great to work with. He's one of a kind in that respect.
This question can maybe go to both of you, maybe starting with you, Joe. As far as mentally preparing for an opponent on short notice with Custio, how do you handle the mental part of preparation, video work? Do you watch it together? Do you each watch it? Who comes up with the game plan?
Well, just to be perfectly honest with you, you know, we've each watched a few rounds of, you know, Custio. He's, what you see is what you get in every fight with him. So you can watch 2 rounds of one fight and 2 rounds of another fight, and you're going to see the same guy. So basically, there's not a lot of time since we just got notice of this probably Friday. We ended up here Tuesday. So, you know, we had the weekend. It's not like you can call in and say, hey, we need a guy that fights exactly like this guy. We can work with them 2 weeks. You just got to go back to what you were doing on your pressure game and then say, okay, here's how it's going to apply to this guy that we're fighting now. So there's not a lot of time to game plan it. It's just kind of an overview that we've got right now. And here's what we got to watch out for. And here's a few things that we got to do with him. So we've kind of whittled this down to just a few basic talking points about our opponent and about what we have to do. And it's really at this point, you can't get too into the weeds with this because it's just, you didn't have enough time. So it's a generalized strategy that will make sense to him, because no matter who we're fighting at this point, we can just say, here's what we need to do. If I say pressure, but we got to watch out for these two punches that he really throws well. That's about it. You don't have a lot of time to get into too much depth here. Just to take a cursory view of what you've got in front of you and then deal with it on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. And Sergey, I'd like to hear, Sergey, based on what you've seen of Custio, Sergey, what do you think about Custio as a fighter, and how do you evaluate him and his skills?
Custio смотрел, как бы ты, что бы ты мог сказать о нем, о его способностях боксировать?
Ну, он хороший боксер, он входил, у него хорошая любительская карьера, он входил в олимпийскую сборную Канады, и у него отличный послужный список, 18 боев, 12 нокаутов. Очень видно, что он с хорошим ударом, с поставленной техникой, поэтому отличный боец, и я думаю, что наши стили похожи, он идет вперед и бьет сильно, и я тоже могу идти вперед и бить, поэтому считаю, что у нас получится отличный бой, и мы порадуем своих фанатов.
He's definitely a great fighter. I mean, he was a Olympian for Canada. He made it all the way out there. That says a lot. He's got 18 fights, 12 knockouts, I believe. That means that he can crock and he can punch a little bit. And it makes him twice as dangerous at that point. And stylistically, I believe that we real comparable. He comes forward, try to fight you. I come forward, try to fight you. He can punch. I believe I can punch. So it's going to be very entertaining, I believe. That's a good match.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we'll give it just another moment here. If any press have any more questions for Sergey or for Joe or for Alex, please punch in. Going once. We have one coming in now from Crystal Hart. Crystal, go ahead, unmute your line and you can ask your question. Thanks for jumping in. Crystal, if you can hear me, press you should be able to see the opportunity to unmute your line and ask your question.
Yeah. Did it unmute now?
We have you now. Thank you, Crystal.
Okay. When Chris de Blasio announced his fight, he said that the winner could possibly face Danny Garcia, the winner of Danny Garcia versus Earl Spence Jr. How does this make you feel? Does it give you more encouragement? And also, how do you see those two fighters? How do you feel that fight will pan out?
Are you asking Sergey?
Yes.
Okay. Как ты смотришь, вот было сказано, что победитель вашего боя будет драться с победителем Гарсия и Спенс. Как ты думаешь, как это, ты готов к такому, если ты выиграешь?
Ну, во-первых, нужно выиграть. Я не хочу смотреть за спину сопернику. Сначала нам нужно провести этот бой, а потом уже думать, с кем драться и какие будут предложения. И, конечно же, я рад любым боям. Но для начала нам нужно выиграть этот бой.
Well, I don't look past that fight. I mean, I gotta win that fight. That's what I'm focused on right now. But yes, I do believe that I belong to that crop of fighters. I believe that this is something that I could do, and I proved it. I believe it was my whole career that I'm up to the challenge. But before I'm even considering and looking at all that, I gotta win that fight on Saturday.
Thank you.
Okay, Crystal, thank you. And I want to thank the press for joining us. Sergey, Joe, Alex, thanks for taking the time. Good luck headed to the weigh-in tomorrow, and we will see you on Saturday.
All right.
Thank you. Chris.
All right.
Take care.
All right.
But you're coming in on a late replacement. Can you give us a sense of how your preparations have gone, and how much time you've had to prepare for this particular fight? An important one.
For sure. That's what I mean. My preparation has been very good. Like I said, I prepared very well for this fight. Yeah, short notice, but I mean, I kind of had a heads up for this fight. I'd say about probably 4 to 5 weeks. So I mean, I knew that there was a chance that I could be the replacement. So I mean, I've been actually preparing for this fight very well. Me and my team, and like I said, everything's been very good. I'm looking forward for Saturday.
So I'm going to just remind the press to use the raise hand function in the Zoom in order to get in queue to ask questions of Custio Clayton. You said you were aware that this was a potential, that you had the potential to slot in place of Abdukakarov, who was the original opponent for Sergey Lipinets. You had been preparing for this eventuality. You said 4 or 5 weeks. Is that correct?
About 4 for sure. Yeah.
Great. You're undefeated at this point. This will be your first fight in the United States. You have a decorated amateur career, highly regarded by our announce team and by our researchers. We're looking forward to this fight. What do you think you expect to happen on Saturday night in terms of the matchup with Lipinets? How do the styles match up?
I think it's a very good matchup. I mean, Lipinets is a very good fighter. Like I said, former world champion. So I mean, from what I see, he always come to fight. He's aggressive. So I mean, I see it to be a very good fight. I mean, most people look at me aggressive as well. I like to sit there and bang, but I think you'll see a different side of me. Very intelligent, very smart, and I said I'm looking forward to this fight Saturday.
That's great. Some even internally have said this could be a better matchup and a better style fight than the previous opponent. So we appreciate your preparations and jumping in here. We're going to start with Jeremy Herridges from fansided.com. Jeremy, if you unmute, you can go ahead.
Hi, Custio. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. I'm curious if you can kind of tell us or describe the moment that you heard that this fight was going to take place, and what was your initial reaction?
See, anyone that know who I am, I'm just so low key and low laid back that stuff don't get to me too much. I mean, as it is a very, very big opportunity, and I'm thankful for it. But like I said, I mean, I'm not the type to like really jump. I mean, so I mean, I was just more laid back, and I'm very happy for it. But it just to me is get down to business, and now focus on preparing for Lipinets the best way we knew how, and that's what I did.
Looking at Lipinets, I'm curious. Obviously, he has one loss on his record, which came to Mikey Garcia. Did you focus on that fight? Are there particular fights that you focused on? And if so, which were they?
Like I said, I looked at a couple of them. Mikey Garcia fight was one that I've studied. But at the same time, I mean, when you're in there, you got different fighters always got a different game plan for everybody. And I just feel that, like I said, Mikey did what he did. And I just feel that we all got different styles, and I think that with my style, I'll just have to show everyone what I'm capable of.
Final question for you. What do you think is going to be the biggest factor in this fight? Is it a size advantage that you have? What do you see as your biggest asset?
To be real, I think my boxing abilities. No one just ain't seen it yet, but I think that would be the big key in here. People don't understand how smart I am. But like I said, I don't really look at the size. I mean, I don't look very look at that. But at the same time, as I'm prepared for whatever.
Sounds good. Thank you, Custio, and best of luck.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jeremy. Let's go to Keith Eidick with BoxingScene.com. Keith, go ahead.
Hey, Custio, how you doing?
How you doing?
One thing I meant to mention to you yesterday that I forgot to ask was I'm just curious what you think a win in this fight over a guy like Lipinets, which would get you an interim title and put you in position to fight the Errol Spence-Danny Garcia winner, would do for boxing in Canada overall and the reputation of boxing in Canada.
I think it will do a lot. I mean, it'll show that we do have some fighters that, I said, once they get the chance the right way, they can step up to the plate, and I think I'm one of them. But I think in Canada, it'll put it back up again. We have like Jean-Pascal Adoniston that did their thing, but I think it's right now we just need a couple more, and I think I can hopefully be one of them.
And what do you hope that people who have not seen you fight walk away from your fight thinking about you after a Saturday night?
Just to see that, you know what, we didn't know too much about him at first, but I was very happy that they get to see me now, and then hopefully they just walk away and just say, you know what, I think that this guy can fight. I think that he do belong to get a chance with some of the top names.
And if you win this fight and you are in position, of course, to fight the Garcia Spence winner, what would that mean to you to get that magnitude of a fight eventually?
I think that for any fighter, I mean, getting that type of a fight is something that you prepare for your whole life. So I mean, at the same time, I mean, you always take it one step at a time. But it'll be great. It'll be a great moment and something that you would prepare for just like every other fight.
Thanks, Custio.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Keith. Let's go to Matthew Boulet from the Journal newspaper in Montreal. Matthew, you'll have to unmute to ask your question.
Hi, Custio.
Hey, how you doing?
Thanks for your time. I just want to know, did you have some times to have specific sparring for that fight? Because you know all the restriction with the borders and in Quebec and in Ontario. Do you have sometimes to have specific sparring for Lipinets?
I wouldn't say specific, but we had type of guy that was similar in height and at least could match up pretty well. But I wouldn't say specific, but I think we had for what we had the right sparring partners.
Do you think it's kind of ironic because with the last two promoters, Jim and Eye of Tiger Management, didn't work out with you and didn't have the opportunities to go to the World Championship fight like this? Do you think it's kind of Christmas before the time for you, Custio, with that fight?
I didn't really understand the question really.
It's about to know if how you embrace that opportunity to have a championship fight.
Oh, like I said, I've worked this year. Worked very hard for this opportunity, and I'm just something that I've been trying to push for the past period 2 years. And like I said, I'm just happy that it actually came to light now, and I'm very prepared for it. So I'm ready for it.
Thank you, Custio.
Thank you.
Thank you, Castillo. And thank you, Matthew. Let's try Francis Paquin. Francis, unmute. You can ask your question.
Hi, so nice to talk to you. It's been a while. What convinced you to accept this fight as a short delay like this?
Like I said, I was already in the gym preparing for a fight. So, I mean, at the same time, I was ready to get in the ring anyway. So, I mean, at the same time, when I got the call saying that I'm interested in taking the fight, I mean, at the same time, how do you say no to a fight like that? I feel that I'm ready. Been ready for a couple of years now, and like I said, under the circumstances, I think it was my time to come and accept the fight.
And last question, you don't have experience like Mike Garcia, Lipinets fighting. How will you handle this for this fight?
Well, I have a lot of experience. I mean, I've been an amateur for a while. I went represented Canada in Olympics and everything. So I traveled, fought other world champions as an amateur. I know it's not pro, but at the same time, I think that's what prepared me for a fight like this. Is all the experience I had as an amateur.
Thank you, Custio. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Castillo, I'll ask you to expand on that. Do you think your experience as an amateur boxer can help you at this level? You turned pro, correct me if I'm wrong, at 27, relatively late stage. So perhaps you're more fresh at the age you are now than another fighter of equivalent age, but yet you have all this amateur experience. How does that translate for you on Saturday night?
Well, I think it translated good. I mean, like I said, you get fighters that do turn pro a lot early. I did start at 27, but I think that was my time to start. I didn't rush nothing. Things came into place the way they did, and I just feel that, like I said, going pro when I did, having staying back amateur a bit, just developing a little more, prepared me for fights like this. I'd seen a lot of other fighters, seen these type of styles. So I mean, I think that I'll be well prepared for Saturday.
Okay, great. And we have no more questions in queue, but I'll just ask, the stage of your career, the stage of your life you're at, what this opportunity means. I know you came from a part of Canada that was certainly lower income, and I know there is some higher crime in the area of Nova Scotia that you come from, and now you live in Ottawa. Tell us about what this opportunity can represent for you long term.
Represent a lot. I mean, like I said, just show that all the work that you do from being back from Nova Scotia, it just shows that, like I said, I mean, you can take another route, pursue your dream and chase it. This right here is something that'll mean a lot to me, and I think Nova Scotia. So, I mean, like I said, it's a great feeling, a great opportunity, and I'm thankful for it.
Well, as I said, we're grateful that you were ready, on call, and you took the call when it came. So we have intact a terrific main event for Saturday night. I want to thank you for taking the time. Good luck getting through the weigh-in, and we will see you then.
Thank you.